Hello and welcome to this hand lettering workshop. I am Bianca, I'm from Germany and I've done already some workshops, but this one is the second one online and the theme of this workshop is Mother's Day. So we're gonna honor our mothers with self-made cards. And here are some cards that I've already done previously, and you will be able to make your own card like this with your own style, font and design. So if you have any questions during the workshop, you can write them in the chat anytime and we will try to answer them for you. Before we start, we have to talk about paper, fonts and pens. About paper, when I buy some, I will take a look of the weight of it. It says 300 grams, 100 grams. And for example, I prefer 300 grams because if you have a lighter one, it's gonna break very quickly. So this one is very thick paper and you have an actual card to give. About pens, I will show you the pens that I have. About fine liners and brush pens, there are two different pens. With a brush pen, it's really difficult to write because you have to learn how to control the pen. And with a fine liner, I work mostly because it's easier and I show you also how to cheat with that pen. So about the fonts, we use different types of fonts. So for example, on this one, I have all letters in capital. I have a different font with hand lettering style and all again capital, which highlights the word, in this case, mom. Here, for example, I have all the same type of font. And here I have, again, one capital, one word, and then hand lettering style. So for those who have a brush pen, I'm going to show you how to practice with a brush pen and how to control it, because that's not easy. So you normally will have to practice the pressure with that pen. So you will have to practice how you put more pressure on the pen when you go down with your pen and less pressure when you go up. And as well, you have different kind of templates where you can try to practice. So every time when you go down, you have more pressure on your pen, the line gets thicker, and less pressure when you go up. So if you practice those templates for a while, you're gonna get better. Because for me, this is kind of hard to do. And maybe you don't have a brush pen, so we're gonna practice with a fine liner. This is way more easier and it's kind of a cheat version, but it's still working. So we're gonna take our templates that I send you, our files. with the letters. They look like this. With the fine liner, you can start easily with the letter, and every time when there is a thicker line, you will do a double line, and then you can draw that, fill that in. As well, when you went down, you're gonna make a double line and fill that out again. So you're gonna follow the template, easy, and then you see again, thicker, or you went down at that place, you're gonna make a double line, fill that place out, and here as well. And that's it for the fine liner. With the brush pen, I'm gonna show you that real quick. With a C, you go down, more pressure, and then less pressure up. A D is more pressure, less pressure, more pressure, and less pressure. And now you see, most of the time, in the end of the letter, we have a connect line. Let's start with the A. Here is the connect line. With the B, here's the connect line, C and D. Don't forget to draw those lines too. It's just going further with your letter to connect it with the next letter that you will draw. So I'm going to show you how to practice those letters on a blank paper. We're going to start with A. I'm going to draw an A, and every time when I went down, I'm going to do a double line here as well. And I'm going to fill out this part. This is a very big connect line. I can also take over and start with the next letter. For example, a B. And here I went down. I'm going to make a double line. And here I went down. If you want, you can do the whole alphabet with the connect lines. If you're already ready to do a word, I'm going to show you how to write hello. And then I will have a look again, make a double line every time where I went down and fill that out. Don't forget the connect lines, and it's totally fine if you take longer to practice. That's normal. It doesn't have to be perfect in the beginning, and it really takes time to practice. So you're gonna have a little bit time to practice by your own, the templates or on a blank paper. And because it's almost Mother's Day, I have to say I've been experiencing a lot of love from my mother. She took care of me. She made sure that I have everything I need. But I have been experienced also someone who takes way more care of me, who shows me way more love, and actually a loyal love that I can't explain. So I'm gonna show you a video that explains the loyal love from the Bible project. And after that, you will have a short time extra to practice everything. Yeah, let's take a look.
If you tried to describe what God is like, it could be difficult or daunting. But when the people who wrote the Bible pondered the mystery of God, they consistently describe God's character in this way: compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, overflowing with loyal love and faithfulness. We're going to look at this fourth phrase, loyal love. It translates the Hebrew word chesed, which is hard to translate into any language because it combines the ideas of love, generosity, and enduring commitment all into one. Chesed describes an act of promise-keeping loyalty that is motivated by deep personal care. Like in the story of Ruth. Ruth is a foreigner married to an Israelite man, but tragically, her husband dies along with his brother and his father. All Ruth has left is her widowed mother-in-law, Naomi, who has nothing to give her. Naomi tells Ruth she should go back to her people, but instead, Ruth promises to stay by Naomi's side and take care of her. And as other people watch Ruth keep this promise over time, they call it an act of chesed. Notice that Ruth's chesed is not conditional or based on Naomi's worth. Rather, it's an expression of Ruth's character. She just is a generous and loving person who keeps her word. That's chesed. Now, Ruth's loyal love is truly inspiring, but the one who shows the most enduring chesed in the Bible is God. Like in the story about Jacob, who is a treacherous liar even to his own family. But despite that, God chooses him and repeats the promise he made to Jacob's grandfather, Abraham, that he would have a huge family through whom God would restore his blessing to the nations. And so 20 years later, when Jacob realizes how undeserving he is, he says to God, "I'm not worthy of all the chesed you've shown me." And he's right. But God's chesed was never about Jacob's worth in the first place. It's a display of God's generous loyalty to his promise. God's chesed continues into the story of Jacob's descendants, the Israelites. When they're enslaved by Pharaoh in Egypt, we're told that God remembered his promise to Abraham and Jacob, so God defeats Egypt and raises up Moses to liberate the people and lead them into the promised land. And in the story, this is called an act of chesed because it was about God keeping his word. Now, on their way to the promised land, the Israelites are scared of the nations around them, and they doubt that God can protect them. So the people threaten to kill Moses and appoint a new leader to take them back to Egypt. God is understandably hurt and angry, but Moses steps in and says, "Forgive the sin of these people because of your great chesed." Notice that Moses asks God to forgive not because the people deserve it, but because it's consistent with God's own character. And God agrees, and he recommits himself to a people that don't want to be committed to him. In the Bible, God is loyal and loving for no other reason than it's just who God is. Of course, he wants his people to respond with chesed in return, but even when they don't, God's chesed remains. The prophet Hosea compared Israel's chesed to a morning mist that's here one moment and gone the next. But God's chesed is enduring. Like in the celebration of Psalm 136 that opens by saying, "Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good," and then 26 times repeats, "His chesed is forever." And so, after centuries of Israel betraying their commitment to God, and after humanity's long history of violence and death, God still kept his promise in a dramatic and drastic way by becoming human and binding himself to us in the person of Jesus. And the people who followed Jesus of Nazareth said that in him they encountered the God of Israel, who is full of loyal love and faithfulness. Jesus is the ultimate loyal and loving human. And in his life, death, and resurrection, God opened up a new future for all of us and for all of creation. And God did this because it's just who God is, generous, loving, and eternally loyal to his promises. And when we experience the purity and power of God's loyal love shown through Jesus, it compels us to reimagine why and how we can show chesed back to God and to the people around us. This is what it means to say that God is overflowing with loyal love.
So I'm gonna show you now how we start to actually design a card. We're gonna have those templates, so those cards are the designs that we're gonna make. I'm gonna show you how to write the hand lettering, also with the different fonts and with the flowers. For the colors, I have watercolors, but you can use whatever you want. So let's start with that. Okay, I'll start with a pencil because then I still have the chance to remove and correct everything. So I'm gonna write "Thank you, Mom" first. And I see if I like it and keep going. Okay, I think I kind of like it, so I'm gonna go with the fine liner. Okay, and even here I wasn't really like following the pencil, but that's okay. I'm gonna remove that quickly, the pencil. And then I'm gonna do the double line. But what I haven't showed you actually is that you can use just a thicker pen if you have, and you can just just push with a lot of pressure from that pen, or it can be even a brush pen. So every time where you went down, you can just make that line thicker. Of course, it takes a lot of more time with a fine liner, and this is way faster. Okay, so for the flowers around, as we have here, I will paint first with the watercolors. They also need to dry, and then I will draw the shape of the flowers with a normal fine liner. So I'm gonna take watercolor. You can do actually whatever you want around. I'm gonna take purple and red. Okay, I'm gonna show you how that works with the flowers, because I struggled a lot with flowers actually. So I will like draw like a leaf like this, and then you can fill it out, and it doesn't have to be perfect because every flower has its own shape, right? So it's kind of like a triangle, and that you just do the whole time. You do a triangle and fill that one out. You can do it even around. More color. And here as well. That doesn't have to be perfect. And for the middle of it, I'm gonna use a yellow. And when the color is still wet, you will see that the yellow might go in there, which is totally fine. At least that's what I think. It's pretty. So you don't have to wait until everything is dry. I'm gonna make a yellow flower here. So make the triangle. Here. And for this one, I'm gonna do a red dot in the middle. Okay, I'm gonna add some leaves with green. Actually, I'm gonna do that in between. I'm gonna not really follow the template exactly. You can also, again, do your own style and font and design however you would like it. Yeah, for the leaves, I'm gonna do a lines on the side, and then I'm gonna do curves around those lines. Like this. And actually, I kind of like this, so I'm gonna leave it like this. Doesn't have to be too much going on the card. So I hope this is already dry. I'm gonna try to make the shape of the flower already. So like this. Here. And here actually I can do some dots. And some lines. As well here. And the leaves, I'm gonna shape them. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I can go a little bit outside of the box, for example, or more inside. That's totally fine, I think. And again, I'm gonna do here some dots. This is, for example, still wet, so you see how the color is like spreading on the paper a little bit, but that's fine. Yeah, this is it, I would say. Of course, you can still do more flowers or on the other side of the card. Yeah, but this could be our first design. For the next one, which we have different fonts and yeah, different fonts and the word mom in the center. So we're gonna try to do that. I'm gonna start again with a pencil so you see what I mean. I'm gonna write best mom ever. And then the mom, I'm gonna start from the frame of the card. Okay, for example, this looks kind of weird because here I have way more space from the first letter to the second, and here is just a little bit space. So when I do it with a fine liner, I have to be closer with my second letter. And then I'm gonna write ever. If you want to be very accurate, you can like draw here a line and see if it's everything in the center. But I'm just gonna start now. I'm gonna be crazy now. Okay, for the word best and ever, I will show you later what I'm gonna do actually. So then mom, here I have to correct myself. Like this, and here, ever. Okay, I'm gonna use a different pen to have also a thicker line for the capital letters when I go down. So this would look like this. I'm gonna make this line a little longer for the word mom. Every time when I go down, the thicker line. And the last word. Right. Okay, I'm gonna let this a little bit dry so I can remove the pencil. So we can start with the design with the colors again. And here, I'm also gonna do again with pink. I'm also gonna add blue because my mom's favorite color is blue. I'm gonna do a triangle for a kind of tulip flower. But then also the first flower that I showed you I will do. And here I'm going to do a different flower. I'm going to, yeah, blue. And I'm gonna do some, I don't know how I would call them, sprinkle flowers. Just some blue elements, so this blue flower is not alone there. And then I'm gonna make some leaves. And maybe here. And you see, yeah, I mean, for me, I would like to have the whole thing full of flowers, but you can do one flower or only pink flowers if you want. Okay. The thing is with watercolors, I have to wait until it's dry so I can paint over. I'm gonna remove the pencil meanwhile. I really would love to see what you're doing right now. So if you want, you can really post them on Facebook, tag OM in Belgium, so I can see and like your photo and your design. That would be super exciting. Okay, I'm gonna remove that from the card. Okay. I hope the flowers are dry. I'm gonna start to paint on them. If they're not dry, then my pen will, my color from the pen will go in the water, and there's gonna be more black than flower. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure about this tulip kind of flower. That's why it looks weird, but this one, it's gonna be a little bit better. And here I'm gonna do some stripes. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna do some circles for those ones. Okay. I'm gonna do here some dots and again some lines for the flower. Okay, and the blue one. And then we're actually done, I would say. So this was actually the end of the workshop. So I hope you enjoyed this whole workshop. You still would have time to practice for the 9th of May, where the Mother's Day would be. Thank you for joining so much, and hopefully see you in the next workshop.